Sit down, Fui Fui, you're not getting past Peter Ryan. We've got the story of that mildly viral video from our new prop on an NRL legend, plus the story of the Bears' 52-4 defeat at home to Workington Town on Sunday. This is the world's greatest podcast about the Coventry Bears. This is Bare Necessities. Welcome to Bare Necessities, your favourite podcast all about the Coventry Bears rugby league team. We live at covbearspodcast.com. We're at covbearspodcast on Twitter. You can subscribe in Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher and plenty of other places, and we're sponsored by the Bears Vice Presidents and York's Tim. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Musson, and joining me as always is my right-hand man and former Bears player, Craig Cathcart. Craig, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Looking forward to a packed sporting weekend with Liverpool playing on Saturday and the Bears on Sunday. So yeah, that should be good.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for both of us, isn't it? Both got the Bears on Sunday, and we've both my beloved Aston Villa back at Wembley Stadium on Saturday, bidding to get back in the Premier League as well. So big weekend and a big show this week as well coming up for you. We're going to look back on Sunday's game. We'll talk about that tackle on Fui Fui Moi Moi. We've got a couple of your Ask Mr. C questions, and we'll look ahead to this Sunday's trip to North Wales. But first, we've got a couple of bits of Bears news for you. So to kick us off, a reminder that there are plans afoot to run a supporters coach for the trip up to Hunslet on Sunday 17th of June. So please do book your spot to avoid disappointment. The cost is just £20 for your return travel, departing from the Butts Park Arena and taking you right to the front door of the South Leeds Stadium. We went on the supporters bus to Widnes. It was a lot of fun. Songs were written, lots of chat was had, and it just took the hassle out of everything. So to book your spot, if you haven't done so already, email supporters@coventrybears.co.uk. That's supporters@coventrybears.co.uk. And second, something that came out just after we recorded our last episode, so we didn't get a chance to mention it. The Bears now have an official partnership with top Welsh amateur side Valley Cougars, and that's going to provide a pathway for players in Wales, specifically South Wales, because they don't really have a rugby league professional setup anymore, with the South Wales Ironmen becoming the West Wales Raiders. So it's providing that pathway for players in that part of the country, and it's a big catchment area for rugby. Craig, we've seen a few Welsh players in the Bears squad this year, and they've brought plenty to the team on the pitch. This feels like a really good partnership for the Bears, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's a really positive move for rugby in Wales, but also for the Bears. I mean, with Gloucester and South Wales no longer being around, geographically, the Bears are actually one of the closer teams to South Wales. So it's a really good move, and the Welsh guys in the Bears team this year have been superb. I mean, we had a contingent last year, and some of those have carried on this year. You know, really excellent players, really bring a lot and bring real commitment to the team as well. I think long may it continue. There's really a lot of on-tap talent. I mean, you see that there's people like Regan Grace in Super League. There is lots of excellent Welsh Rugby League players, and they just need an opportunity to play start at a semi-pro level and see where it goes.
Yeah, and fingers crossed Bears will unearth the next Regan Grace and keep hold of him for a season or two. Right, so on to last Sunday's game against Workington Town, which sadly was somewhat overshadowed by a pretty poor refereeing performance, but we'll chat about that later. So coming up, we've got the post-match thoughts of Bears head coach Tom Tsang, but first, a quick run through of the story of the match. So you'll probably guess how it all started by now. The Bears didn't start well again. 5 tries shipped in the opening quarter, which took the score to 26-0 to Town. However, there were some mitigating factors. The first try came from a scrum that were awarded for reasons only known to the referee. The third try was almost certainly the profit of a knock forward, and the fifth was a result of back-to-back penalties in front of the Bears post that again kind of had everyone scratching their heads as to why they were awarded. And to be honest, by this point of the game, the match had been lost. and the Bears had barely touched the ball. The moment that seemed to kick the Bears into life a bit sort of came in the 20th minute. So this is the bit we've mentioned already in this episode. NRL legend Fui Fui Moi Moi coming onto the pitch for his Workington debut. And he was about to take the ball up for his first hit in a Workington shirt. And apparently, friend of this podcast, James Gertons, had told his fellow Bears prop, Peter Ryan, to try and get a decent hit on the former New Zealand international, and boy did he do that. He left Fui on the floor with a glorious tackle that was all over Twitter on Monday, where you've probably seen it, and if you were in the stands you certainly saw it and heard it. But again, that referee, he didn't see it as a good tackle. He saw it as violent, as a high shot with a swinging arm, which it clearly wasn't. It was a chest hit, but hey, that's what the ref saw. And he put Peter in the sin bin. So as Peter trudged off the pitch, should add to a rousing round of applause from the crowd. Bears captain Chris Vitellini went up to the ref and questioned the referee about that, and presumably about other decisions from the game. And the result of that, Chris Vitellini also got sent to the sin bin, and the Bears were sent down to 11 players. Now, credit to them, they knuckled down with those 2 players off the pitch, and they did limit the damage to just 2 more tries before the break. And they were even awarded their very first penalty just after half an hour of rugby. And as if to confirm that the ref would not be on any Bears Christmas cards list this year, a Workington player was only put on report for a quite clear tip tackle right on half time. It was basically an incident that was identical to what Toronto's Liam Kay was binned for in the Cup last week. But in Coventry on this weekend, it was only deemed worthy of being put on report. The second half was far better for the Bears. Workington only managed 3 more tries, and 2 of those were from some more fantastical penalties, should we put it. And these also came after, quite hilariously, the ref underlined his own credentials for the day by losing count of tackles in one set. I enjoyed that particularly. And the second biggest cheer of the day, after seeing Peter sitting Fui Fui down, of course, that came with 10 minutes to go when Cam Pearce-Paul touched down in the corner. We avoided the nil, and he finished off a try after, I have to say, a quite lovely floated long pass from Gertz out to him. And Harry Kaufman also went over with 5 minutes to play for what looked like a really good finish, but naturally, as was the order of the day, the referee chalked it off. Apparently it was a knock-on. That meant the final score was 52-4 to Workington Town. So we'll get stuck into the ref in a moment, but first, here's Bears head coach Tom Tsang. So Tom, unfortunately another defeat. What's the mood been like in the dressing room there, and what do you think of the game?
The funny thing is the mood is positive, despite this result and despite the last sort of month or so of games. Everyone is in a good place in terms of wanting to keep working hard and wanting to keep working together, and every game kind of pulls us closer together, which is a really good thing and a good attribute for the guys to have about them. We're very, very disappointed today. We're very frustrated with the performance that we put in. We haven't been starting well, and that needs to be fixed. Maybe it's something that we can tweak in the game day preparation. But we know that we're better than what we're putting out on the field at the moment, because we show it so regularly in patches, and we know that when we put things together that we can trouble any team in the league. Like last week against York, we showed that for 40 minutes of a game that we're as good as them, but we just need to be consistent with it. So we'll keep working hard, and we'll keep breaking things down and building them back up. And at some point, I'm really confident that it will click, and then that will then give us the evidence, the hard evidence to prove to ourselves. Because I think that's the other side of it. Is it's a very mental game, is rugby league, despite it being unbelievably physical as well. You need to be confident in yourself and in your teammates, and the guys are, but they're just there's something just blocking them from actually then delivering on that at the moment. So we'll like I said, we'll keep working hard, and we'll keep our heads on our shoulders, and we're not going to react too much to anything. We're just going to keep controlling what we can control and go from there.
I take it you can take plenty of positives from that second half performance in particular, because it was a lot better. The damage had been done in the first 20 minutes, but like you say, there were some patches of real signs of positivity there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we do well and the things that we do well in patches is defensively we will do, like the cliche word is the 1%ers. We'll come in and the third man will come in and help out and put the man on the floor, and then the two men in the tackle will work that person onto their back and finish, and so the tackle finishes on the floor. It's slow, our defence can get set and ready for the next tackle, and we'll do that for 3 tackles in a set, and then we'll switch off, and then that's where we'll get caught, and we'll give away a penalty because we're trying to slow the ruck on a passive tackle, as an example. So we're guilty of sort of going through the process for 3/4 of the time, but at this level you can't get away with that. So we need that sort of attention to detail is something that we need to work on, and that's the difference between what we were doing in the first half to what we're doing in the second half. In the second half we were just a lot more attention to detail. We were finishing off the tackles, we were making sure that we were slowing things down when we needed to and speeding things up when we wanted to, but the amount of ball that we had in the first half, the amount of defending we had to do just really took it out of us. So for us to only concede 14 points in the second half, I was very proud of the boys. They did work hard, but we just need them to do that from the first whistle.
Now, this is going to sound very similar to a question I asked you a few weeks ago, and again I don't want to get you into trouble, but the referee was on the lips of a lot of people in the crowd, and it felt like he had an unnecessary influence on the game. Appreciate it if you don't want to answer the question, but I have to ask you, what were your thoughts on the referee's performance today?
The referee didn't miss tackles for us. The referee didn't not complete the tackles for us that I just described defensively. The referee always has an influence in the game, and when you don't notice a referee, that's when you know he's had a good game. So I don't like other people have an opinion on whether that was the case today or not. But at the end of the day, we've got to control what we can control. We've got to focus on what we can improve ourselves, and start there. If we start pointing the fingers at the referee, it gives us an out, it gives us an excuse, and then we lose accountability on our own performance, and then we don't improve. So we're not going to do that.
And what about the 2 yellow cards? What were your views on those?
Well, I thought, in my opinion, they were wrong. Especially Peter. I thought from where I was stood, it was a fine tackle. It was well timed. It was coming from Fui Fui Moi Moi's blindside position, so he caught him flush, caught him square, wrapped his arms as far as I could tell, and just caught him with a good tackle. I can understand the yellow card more because a player dissenting, a player sort of back-chatting to the referee, the referee's entitled to send him off. But from my point of view, Chris is our captain. I want Chris to ask that question. Why is Peter being sent off for that, and why is the penalty being given? Because that the original call for me was incorrect. But that's my opinion, and I'm sure that everyone in the crowd had a different one as well. So
there are a few new names on the team sheet today. So Reece Rance, Jacob Jones, and Sam Davies. Can you just tell us a bit about those guys and how you thought they got on their debuts?
Yeah. So we have been sort of victim to our own success in some ways, in as much as we had 5 boys playing yesterday for England University, so against New Zealand, and they managed to get the win, so very, very well done to them. But England University's gain is our loss, so we didn't play 4 of those guys, and Ben played half a game for us today, so we had to make some changes, and we took the opportunity to do that. So Reece Rance, he's played at this level before. He's played for Hemel. He's played for Gloucester, all golds in the past. Very explosive winger. Runs really, really hard and really well. He's a cracking lad. He's been with us probably since sort of around Christmas time. So he has been training all the time. He had an injury. He's worked through that injury. He's just been waiting for an opportunity since, and we were fortunate enough to be able to give him one today. And I think he made a good account of himself. He made no errors. He had some really good carries, and I think he'll be good for us. Certainly brings a load of competition, which we already had anyway, into that sort of back 3 position, and it means that those guys really need to work hard to be able to own their shirt. Jacob Jones and Sam Davies, they're on dual registration from London Broncos. So because of the guys playing yesterday, we took the opportunity to bring those two in. They played for us last year. They're Midlands lads. Sam is from Leicester. He's a hooker. He's played a lot of first team already this year, and he's one to look out for in the future. I think he's got a huge amount of potential. For me, Super League isn't out of the question for him. I think he's that good. He's only in his teens still. He's already playing Championship to a high level, so we're lucky to have him. And he does make a difference for us. And Jacob is he's a Birmingham lad. Played in the Midlands Academy with the London Broncos. Great attitude on him. Really plays above his weight. He's not the biggest lad, but he plays in the pack. He plays second row loose forward. He's got great technique. Really good technique in defence. Probably just needs to work a little bit more in attack on those lines, but once that comes, he'll be a very good player as well.
And you mentioned the players who played for England students yesterday, and of course I wanted to ask you about them because I know the England students setup is something that's quite close to your heart as well. And you, as you mentioned, the team got a win, and I know Harry Chapman scored a hat-trick, and Ben was immaculate with his boot as well. You must be really proud to see 5 of your guys lining up and doing the business, and I know it makes it difficult for your selection, but I'm guessing it's something you'd always encourage to represent the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my best playing days were playing for England and Great Britain students, and you don't get the opportunity to represent your country very often. And so when the guys have that opportunity, then they should definitely take it. And there were some sort of conversations through the week about whether they would play or not, but in the end, the right decision was made that they played today and had that opportunity, and they'll get the opportunity again to play against Scotland, Ireland, and Wales later on in the season. Obviously, it won't help us, but that's part of our role as a development club to allow these guys to do that, to develop as players and take these opportunities. And when they come back to us, hopefully they'll bring that experience and be improved as players. So.
And just lastly, obviously, onto North Wales next week, a team that Bears have been able to pull out a few wins against, and won on the road there last season. What are you looking for from your players next week?
I'm really hopeful of an 80-minute performance. When we put an 80-minute performance in, whoever it's against will either win or come very close. So it's as long and short as that, really. We just need to apply ourselves for 80 minutes, and if we do that, then we'll win.
Great. Tom, thanks as always for your time.
Thanks very much.
So massive thanks as always to Tom for his time to reflect on the match with us. It is always really appreciated. So, Craig, I know Tom didn't want to use the referee as an excuse, and referees are often seen as an easy target. It's been a bit of a hot topic in rugby league in general of late that we lay into officials too much. And, even on this podcast, we've tried to be as objective as we can be in the past. But it's got to be said, that guy from Sunday, not good, wasn't he?
No, it's the disappointing thing is that it was right from the first whistle. The Bears just didn't have a chance. It was 38-0 before they even really got into the game, and the game was lost. And fair play to the lads, they got stuck in. There was, some mitigations in that. I think the Bears probably could have defended better early on in the game, but they clearly felt things were going against them, and that affected their play. The other thing as well is with the scoreline being that, with that many tries being scored early on, the Bears really never really properly settled into the game. They managed to, keep Workington down to 3 tries in the second half and get one of their own, but quite often they were forcing passes which they probably wouldn't have done if they were still in with a shot of winning the game, or at least being close in the game. I don't want to be whinging about referees, but that performance on Sunday was one of the worst that I've ever seen. The referees do get a lot of stick. I don't think there's a single game I've been to in the last few years where the referees don't get some stick. But I've never before seen a whole stand booing the referee in unison. I've never ever seen that, and I've never seen that at the Butts Park Arena. The fans are generally positive and do not usually get on the officials' back. And to hear that was, says it all really. There was that was basically everything that everyone was talking about was the referee at half time. That's all that anyone was talking about. At full time, it was the same. I expect the referee probably got changed quite quickly and left and didn't hang around after the game.
I even heard somebody after the match talking about they got to a point in the first half where they were seriously considering getting up and leaving the ground in protest at the refereeing performance, because as far as they were concerned, they and other people there had paid to come and watch a game of rugby league, and they were not getting that because of the performance of the officials, and they felt that they were getting to the point where they had to walk out, and that was the only option, which is just baffling.
Yeah, and I heard that some people had said at half time that if it continues, then they won't stay till the final whistle, which is just crazy. As I said, I've never seen anything like that in a rugby league game. The officials do get stick. Fair play to the guys. They did carry on. Even down to 11 men, they kept their heads up and they gave it a real good go. But it was, as I said, I've never seen anything quite like it. And, I don't know if the Bears are going to complain to the RFL referees. I would fully expect that they will do. I hope that their complaint will be taken seriously. We don't want to be in a position where teams, if they don't like decisions, are going to be moaning to the RFL. But the RFL do need to take valid concerns seriously, and they do need to deal with it, because that is such a hot topic in rugby league at the minute. Everyone is talking about the referees. The standard of refereeing is considered to be poor in Super League. I expect that filters down into Championship and League One, and the officials there'll be no trust in the officials if it carries on, and there'll be no trust in the officials if the RFL don't be seen to be listening to valid concerns from clubs when they do raise them, and I hope that they will.
Yeah, and we should point out for anyone listening who wasn't at the game on Sunday, this is a lot of steps up from the usual cries of get 'em onside and forward pass. This was real poor performance, decisions that people in the ground had no idea why they were being given. And even though we are coming at this from a Bears bias, it felt very one-sided in terms of which way the decisions were going. It didn't feel like there was a consistency there. There was the player who did the tip tackle for Workington. He was doing lots of niggly stuff at the break, the tackle and things in the second half. I don't know if it was the same player, but there was another incident where Malachi Lloyd-Jones broke the line. Somebody had hold of his ankle and so twisted him round in a full 360, and nothing was given for that. It was like you say, it was a terrible performance, and it was just so many odd decisions. I mean, it kind of summed it up for me. I heard somebody in the crowd call the ref absolute custard, which I think is a brilliant insult. I've never heard it as a ref before, but it was just like, what's going on here? What's happening? How is this come to pass?
I think a big thing was that it's very, very rare for a captain of one team who raises concerns to the referee to be sin-binned. You pretty much never see that ever. The captains are allowed to raise concerns. They're expected to raise concerns if they've got them. The referee should be adult enough to listen to those concerns. He can say, if you keep coming to me and talking to me, then fair enough. But the Bears ended up really having a double punishment for what was a good tackle. In some ways, maybe the ref didn't see it properly. Maybe he can only call what he can see. But surely, if the captain of the team that he's just of the team of the Bears is coming to him and saying that was an incorrect decision, he has to, try and talk it through with him. And as I said, down to 11 men, losing the game quite heavily already. They just had no hope. And I think the fans were very much proud of how the Bears reacted after that. In some ways, that galvanised the team and give them the shot in the arm to say, hold on a minute, we need to step it up here, and they really did. And Peter Ryan, a young lad, second game ever of rugby league in League One. He's come over from Ireland, and he's in the 2 games that he's played, he's just been absolutely fantastic. And he was aggressive in the tackle the whole way through the game, the same as he was last week. He's aggressive taking the ball up. Those are the sorts of players, and those sorts of tackles can really get the team and the crowd going, and it did.
Well, I wanted to single out Peter, actually. I mean, we talked about him on last week's show. He had such an impactful debut against York, and again, really left his mark on Workington and on that game on Sunday. And his arrival in the team, coming as it did after that low point at Keighley, he's almost, like you say, in only his second game at this level, but he's almost become a bit of a talisman for the team, hasn't he? He's a character that it feels like the crowd are already with him wholeheartedly. And he's clearly got the ability at this level. He's clearly got the enthusiasm, the physicality and the right attitude. And, with him leading the line, you feel like there's good stuff to come from this team, and get more of the spirit that Peter has shown in the last couple of games, and you feel like it will start clicking back into place a bit more.
Things like that lift players. It can really turn the tide in a game, and I think putting aside all the refereeing stuff and everything else. I think Workington still would have won the game. They are probably one of the better sides that I've seen the Bears play this year. They really were excellent at times, but the Bears could have matched them for large parts of the game, and actually in the second half they did. The team just need to believe in themselves, and if a young lad can come in the second game and start putting hits in like that, then that really spurs everyone on. And, it's there's a lot to be positive about despite the results. And hopefully, we'll see a bit of a turning point here.
Yeah, and we should also point out, you probably picked it up in our interview with Tom, but there were a few key players missing from the Bears because they'd been on duty for England students the day before. So if you didn't quite catch it in the interview, Ben Stead did play for England, and he had a 100% kicking record. I think it was 7 out of 7 kicks plus a try of his own. He only played for half a game for the Bears on Sunday, but also playing for England on the Saturday were Jason Bass, James Mason, Ben Gray and Harry Chapman. And Harry scored a hat-trick of tries for England as they beat New Zealand students. So, there were players missing there who might have had more of an impact on the game. I agree with you, Craig. I think Workington would have won anyway, but those players would definitely have had an impact. And then, of course, there's the long list of injuries that the Bears are suffering from. So, we had more new faces in the team on Sunday, basically because the Bears' hand had been forced because of either they're blessed with such young talent that they're getting called up to play for their country, or we've got key players out injured. So it is a bit of a tough moment for them at this point in the season, because it's difficult for the team to really string together a backline that looks the same from week to week at the moment. So there are reasons to be hopeful as injuries recover and players come back from international duty. Reasons to be hopeful, and those players come back from international duty are only going to come back better players as well. So it's really great to see the club so well represented the day before for England students. Well, I should
say that the players who came in were fantastic.
They were, yeah.
Sam Davies played last year for the Bears, and I remember he played against Crusaders last year away and scored the winning try in that game. He's a teenager still, and he is a fantastic player. He is just brilliant. Some of the hits he was putting in as well, and some of his all-round play was just fantastic. He is without a doubt, I think, going to be a star. And if he keeps putting in performances like that, he's already played for Broncos this year as well. So, he's a really, really good talent, and a Midlands lad as well, which is brilliant to see. Lads coming through from the Midlands Academy and making it in the Championship and League One.
Yeah, that's been a really nice part of it feels like quite a few of the players that have come through on this dual reg with the Broncos do have some sort of a link to the Midlands, which feels like it's keeping within the ethos of what the team's trying to do this year. So yeah, lots of good stuff. And I think we'll park talking about Sunday there for this episode, and I'm going to officially ban any further mention of refereeing in this particular episode. Instead of that, let's ask Mr. C. Right, this is Ask Mr. C, the part of the show where I put your questions to my co-host, and this part of the show is sponsored by York's Tim, for which we're very grateful. If you've got something you'd like to ask Craig on a future episode, then don't be shy. Email us a question using the contact form at covbearspodcast.com, or tweet it to @covbearspodcast using the hashtag AskMrC. So, first question comes from the man on the Butts Park Arena mic, Tim Griffiths, who we should wholeheartedly applaud for his brilliant use of comedy sound effects when Workington's kicker missed his first couple of conversions on Saturday. More of that, please, Tim. Anyway, Tim wants to know, Craig, who you think should be next on Peter Ryan's hit list.
That's a difficult one to answer. I can't possibly name individuals, can I?
Well, it's got to be his opposite number on Sunday.
I would just say the biggest lad on the opposition team. I have a feeling it could end up being Brad Brennan, who played for the Bears last year. So I don't want him smashing Brad Brennan too badly. And Brad actually did put the hit of the season in last year for the Bears, didn't he? Was it against? I can't remember who it was against, but yeah, he absolutely annihilated someone last year. That went viral on social media as well. So no, I think I'll just go with hit the biggest lad as hard as you can in the opposition. And I mean, I've talked about it already, so I'm not going to go over it too much again, but fantastic to see a young Irish player come through and put in performances like that. And, you know, he's really demonstrated that showing aggression at the right time in a game can really make a difference. And, you know, I think the rest of the lads will feed off that. He's so enthusiastic as well. He wants to learn. He trains hard. He's, you know, he's a good example to everyone around him of what you can do. And also, you know, it's really evident that the more experienced players in the squad are really, you know, pushing him on and trying to nurture him in the right way. And, you know, for me, to see Irish talent being given a chance in League One is fantastic. I mean, we had Mikey last year who made a real big impact, and, you know, long may it continue that the Bears are able to pick up this Irish talent and make it work.
Yeah, definitely so. And second is a question that I've kind of crafted out of a point made by Danny Rice Wilson. That's Liam's dad, in case you were wondering. So he emailed us a few thoughts after Sunday's game, which were really interesting to see. Thanks for that, Danny. But the one that really stood out to me was, so Danny pointed out that the Student Four Nations is coming up in July, with matches on the 17th, 19th and 22nd of July in South Wales, if memory serves me correctly. Now, obviously, that clashes with when the Bears host the Keighley Cougars at Butts Park Arena. So Craig, the question I've kind of composed on Danny's behalf is, quite simply, with the Student Four Nations in mind, should the Bears be worried about that week?
I think it's one of those things, isn't it, that yes, it's going to have an impact on one game. We saw on Sunday, you know, the Bears had potentially five players missing from the first team. But these guys are gaining experience playing at a high level. They're gaining, you know, playing at student rugby league at that level is only going to improve their game. They're getting different coaching methods shown to them. You know, they should all be proud of themselves to be involved in that, and it's brilliant for the club to be able to allow them the time to do that. And it shows that the club's trying to nurture talent, and it's taken a long-term view. Yeah, they could say, you know, you play for us, and we don't want to lose you for a game. But you know, Tom and the coaching staff are showing a real long-term view. It's all about these lads developing for the long term, not for one or two games. And yeah, it could potentially mean that the Bears don't get a result that they could possibly get on that game. But why not give these guys a chance? And as long as they're committed to the Bears in and around that, then that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out in case you're wondering. So we were doing a bit of thinking about which Bears players might be affected by this. So obviously we would assume the 5 who played for England last weekend, so Ben Stead, Jason Bass, James Mason, Ben Gray and Harry Chapman are likely to be involved. Dante Morley Samuels has been involved in the England student setup. Dan Gover and Kieran Sherratt both injured at the moment, but they've been involved in the past. And then in the Welsh squad, you've got Liam Rice-Wilson is in the training squad, Rhys Gant is in the training squad, and their coach is Paul Emanuele, so he's likely to be there as well. And chances are, if he keeps playing the way he's been playing, then Peter Ryan is going to be within a shout to get in the Ireland squad as well. So yes, a substantial chunk of the Bears squad potentially missing for that game. But it's only for one game, and as you say, Craig, it's international experience. It's chance to experience a different environment, different coaching, and as we said earlier in the show, they'll come back better players. So maybe we won't be expecting a win that weekend, but we're going to be rewarded with much better players in the long run. That was going to be it for Ask Mr. C, but I've literally just now thought of a quick fire question for you off the top of my head, Craig. This is all me.
Right.
I don't want you to think too much about your answer. I just want you to just give me your gut answer. So Sunday was the battle of the brilliant hairdos. So I want you to tell me who you think wore it better, Dante or Fui Fui.
It's got to be Dante, hasn't it?
Correct answer.
Everywhere we've played, people have commented on it. It is the best hairdo in rugby league at the moment, and should be recognised with an award at the end of the season, I would say.
Well, you see, I was thinking for one game, I reckon you could get a bunch of big red wigs pretty cheap online. I reckon we should get a bunch of Bears fans who maybe want to get a collection bucket for a local charity, and we call it Dante Day, and we all put big red wigs on, and we collect some money for a charity of Dante's choice, and we all wear the wigs and we sing the Dante song. What do you reckon? If you guys listening think that's a good idea and you want to get involved, then tweet us at Cov Bears Podcast, let us know, and we'll try and make it happen.
I'm quite happy to let you do it. I don't think we both need to do it. You can do that one. All right. I'll do the chant. It has to be said, Dante's got his own chant, which is brilliant. But I think a lot of fans might be up for that. I think he's one of the Bears fans' favourite players. So
Come on, listeners, let's make it happen. Dante Day. Anyway. That's it for this week in terms of Ask Mr. C. Don't forget, if you've got something you'd like to ask Craig on a future episode, don't be shy. Email us a question using the contact form at covbearspodcast.com or tweet it to @covbearspodcast. And as ever, thanks very much to York's Tim for sponsoring this section. So we're almost done for another episode, but not before we look ahead to the Bears' next game, which, as we've already mentioned, sees them travel to North Wales on Sunday to face the Crusaders. And for only the second time this season, actually, neither Craig or me are going to be able to make this one. So the Bears will almost certainly win because we won't be there to see it. So Craig, you made this trip with the team last season to North Wales, and you did indeed see a victory. And the Bears have a fairly decent record against the Crusaders as well. What are you thinking going into this weekend?
Well, I think, didn't the Bears drew the year before, and they won the year before that away at North Wales. So it's a ground that the Bears have done well in. I'm kind of gutted on missing the game because the North Wales do sell the best lager in the whole league in Wrexham Lager, and I've been craving it ever since the last trip. So, but I think it's going to be a good measure of where the Bears squad is. And I know North Wales have had a bit of an up and down season. They lost their coach, who was a really nice chap and a really good coach earlier on in the year, and they've had a couple of bad results since then, a couple of good results. They seem to be quite inconsistent, so who knows what team. Again, I seem to be saying this a lot about a lot of the opposition that the Bears play, but who knows what North Wales team it'll be. But I'm pretty sure the Bears can match them, and the Bears, if they keep it tight and keep it close, they will score points, and they've got every chance of picking up a result. The guys have really got to target that as a game that they could potentially win. Taking nothing away from North Wales, I mean, it's going to be like every game in this league. It's going to be very, very tough. But if the Bears, the Bears will be disappointed if a few weeks ago losing to Scholars. I have a feeling North Wales are kind of on about the same level as Scholars. So the Bears need to start trying to pick up wins against those teams just above them in the league. And this is a good opportunity to do that. And if with all the lads coming back, the student lads coming back, and some really good players have come in the last few weeks, I think there's a real good opportunity there.
Definitely so. Well, with that, it's probably time for us to wrap up. So before we go, don't forget, book your spot on the supporters coach for the Hunslet trip on the 17th of June, £20 return. Email supporters@coventrybears.co.uk to sort that. And of course, make sure you subscribe to this show wherever you prefer to get it. Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, wherever else. We don't really mind as long as you subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, tell a friend about the show and make sure that you send us some questions for Mr. C as well. There's the contact form at covbearspodcast.com, or you can tweet them to @covbearspodcast using the hashtag #AskMrC. So we'll be back next week to bring you the reaction from the North Wales game and plenty of other stuff too. Craig, you have fun watching the Champions League and at the biggest weekend. I'll have fun at Wembley. May both our football teams win on Saturday, and may the Bears do the same the day after.
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. Cheers.